instead of counties. Our heat is a little more humid. Our food is a little bit better. Allegedly. Um, every cooking show on TV. So and our laws were made by this French emperor about 300 years ago. So when I wandered my way here to California, there's a lot for me to learn about your tradition. So here you guys weren't founded by the French, but by the Spanish Empire. Uh, your delicious food is wonderful and actually spicier than what I'm familiar with. Um, and your heat, you can operate in dry heat. And yes, of course, you have counties. But there's one tradition that I've learned as a parent that's quite curious. It's when you're raising your children in the school system here, and correct me, kids, anybody who's in school right now, if I'm correct, when you get to be about fifth grade, there's this camp that you go to in part of the year um, called outdoor education. And from what I hear, it's curious because your teachers, who you're probably used to standing at a podium like this of some way, having a binder and a notebook and teaching you about biology and chemistry and all these scientific things, they change things up a bit. You go into the woods, the wilderness, they put on a backpack, and suddenly they become your camp counselors. And you go wandering around the woods, I imagine, and then they stop. They teach you a lesson about science that connects to the outdoors, hence outdoor education. And they have more and more counselors, and you play sports and all this some kind of way teaches you about science. We didn't have this in Louisiana because, the humidity and the alligators may have had something to do with it. But we have something in common. So if you are a youngster, feel free to join me here in the circle. We're going to learn about a story that we share together as Californians, as Louisianans, as all people of the world. The story that we share, and it's about a wilderness camp of sorts. It's about a wilderness school. But instead of being for like 4 or 5 days out in the woods, imagine if your wilderness camp, your outdoor education lasted for about 40 years. But still, you have this leader who is, teaching you about these concepts, and he's leading you through the desert, almost like a camp counselor. So feel free, if you're a kiddo, grab a spot right here. Feel free, if you're an adult, know that there might be some movement associated with this lesson today. So just like in outdoor education, we're going to march around between our lessons, and then we'll stop and we'll learn about what we have in front of us. So you guys ready? Has anybody heard about this outdoor education and been on it? Anybody here? Anybody heard about it? Have you hit fifth grade yet? Did you? Tell me about it.
We went kayaking and snorkeling. Yeah.
And did this help you learn about science?
We learned about like astronomy, and at night we learned about astronomy, and when we went snorkeling we learned about the fish.
Very nice. Okay, so be taking that concept. We're going to be marching around, and we're going to stop, and we're going to learn about what Moses and the children of Israel learned in their wilderness school. So, a few little notes. So, I'm going to be sharing like a shortened version of what you may be reading in Manna Mercy if you brought one home. And respect for our brothers and sisters in the Jewish tradition. So, in Manna Mercy, they may share the sacred name of God. Usually, it's spelled YHWH. But in an aversion to taking the Lord's name in vain, our Jewish siblings do not pronounce that. They say a word called Adonai. Can you say Adonai? And in English, we call that the Lord. So we'll be using words like God, the Lord, or Adonai interchangeably. So when we last ended this story, as Katerina told us, the children of Israel were leaving bondage. They were leaving Egypt. And we hear about Adonai, the Lord, delivering them from being enslaved people in Egypt and taking them on their journey beyond the waters. I'll clean up later. But for 40 years, they wandered in the wilderness, in the sand. Which was kind of like a school for how to trust God and not trust in Pharaoh. So if you follow me, we'll go to slide 1 and we'll begin our journey. Everybody ready? Stand up, let's march. Grown-ups, feel free to march in place. So, stop 1. Have a seat. So first, Adonai waited and waited for the right teachable moment in the wilderness school. And that moment came when the people grumbled about food. Is snack time a big problem at school or Sunday school? Yeah, you're like, when's the Jello coming out, right? So Adonai responded by showering them with some edible substance. Some say it came from the sky, but they knew when they woke up, they found it on the ground. So they picked it up. Didn't necessarily look like a Ritz cracker. And they said, what is it? Or in Hebrew, they said, manna. Can you say manna? Or manna, as we say in English? And that literally means, what is it? So the question was, what is it? That's what it is. So this manna, or what is it? By receiving manna each day, the people learn all food is God's. In fact, everything is God's, and we own nothing. We can trust God for our daily bread, manna. God gives enough, not too much, not too little. Ready for the second one? All right, so our march. Time for another lesson. Grab a seat. So God provides the manna. But some of the people decided to hoard it into big piles. Some manna. But here's the problem. Well, number one, don't eat manna that's been on the ground. It spoiled. It became rotten. And with hoarding it, it grew maggots. Do you guys know what maggots are? Did you learn about that? What are maggots?
they're little like worm things that are in your food and yeah.
They're little baby fly larvae. Yucky. And are they delicious to eat? Are they wonderful to eat? Yeah, tasty. Okay. Not so much. So they learned in this God's next lesson, which is hoarding stinks like the maggots. So hoarding was Pharaoh's way. It brings rot, decay, and death. Ready for another one? All right. Find your seat. We have a third lesson. So Adonai, the creator, the liberator, and the teacher, and the camp counselor, had one more lesson to share about manna in the wilderness. No manna fell on the seventh day. So on the seventh day of the week, they held a Sabbath. The people could eat manna from the day before that didn't rot and there wasn't any maggots in it. Humans did not have to work every day to receive and distribute the manna. Sabbath is a beautiful gift from God that allows humans to eat and experience friendship with God, with others, and with creation. And on that, all right, grab a seat. So, on our fourth lesson, God dreamed of a universal manna society. I wonder what that would look like. So, it wouldn't be just manna coming every day, but imagine whole box. There you go. Feel free to pass that out, adults, if you like some freebies. So, with this Universal Manna Society, a world would exist where all receive, thank, and share. Adonai, the Lord, promised to give the wilderness people another form of manna, and it was called land, or in Hebrew, eretz. Can you guys say eretz? Yes. But he worried that they would go back to Pharaoh's way of being big deals and little deals, the rich and the poor. So Adonai came up with a plan. He said that I will bind myself to this people in covenant, in partnership with friends forever. And on that note, all right, grab a seat. There's yet another lesson. Lesson number 5. So when it was the covenant making ceremony took place at a mountain called Sinai. Have you guys ever heard of Mount Sinai? Yeah, you may have seen it in a movie. So on that special day, God gave the people a covenant word that showed them how to live on that land. The people received God's gift and called it Torah. Has everyone ever seen the Torah before? So this is like the first 5 books of Moses, pretty much. It's a long scroll. So imagine, looks a little bit like this. Instead of, yes, imagine writing is on it. So instead of like a Bible where we flip pages, We keep rolling and rolling and rolling to learn what's on the Torah. So, with the Torah, with that covenant, with that gift from God, God showed them how to live on their land. The people received God's gift and called it Torah. The covenant gift taught people about practical things like farming, like animal care, like sharing, like balance, and of course, Sabbath. According to Torah, the Sabbath would be honored in three forms. Everybody hold up your fingers. We're going to do 1, 2, 3. 1, the Sabbath day, which is the seventh day of the week. 2, the Sabbath year, which is the seventh year. 3, the Jubilee year, which is the 50th year, the grand Sabbath year. Imagine 7 times 7 equals 49 and 50. So a little multiplication lesson for you there. On Sabbath years, the people in the land and the animals would all rest. All debts would be canceled, and all slaves were free to go. On Jubilee years, the land lost by debt or bad luck, it would go back to the original caretakers. And in this way, everyone would have enough, and no one would be poor forever or enslaved like in Egypt. Come on. All right. See, okay. These lessons don't go on forever, by the way. Lesson number 6. So, after many years in a wilderness school and after failing many exams, God's partner people were ready for graduation. And in doing that, they traded notes. It's a graduation hat. He's like, why? Okay. So the people received God's gift called the Torah. And the graduation ceremony took place at the boundary on the east side of the Jordan River. Moses delivered a powerful commencement address, which is a graduation speech. And he pleaded with the people to remember God's love and the lessons Adonai had taught them. Moses sang a beautiful song of praise, and then he climbed Mount Nebo, and then he died. Joshua, Moses' successor, his sidekick, his assistant, led the people over the Jordan River and into the promised land. And now we have to remember that maybe the land wasn't completely empty. And what was a story of deliverance and salvation and promise for one people was a story of destruction and loss for other people. And it's a complicated story, and it doesn't fully look like the fullness of peace that we see in Christ, the peacemaker, but it was the start of what would eventually be. So we want to leave that open for questions later. But on that note, our final. So the people came out of the wilderness and loved to tell stories. They knew they were, sorry, they knew who they were because of their past, because of their ancestors and because of their ancestors' connection to God. And because they love to tell stories about their ancestors, especially Mother Sarah and Father Abraham, God made a promise to them through the covenant partnership. They also trusted in God's dream for their future to bless them and all the families of the earth. The partnership cried out, and the people of this partnership cried out, "We are the children of Sarah and Abraham. Our purpose is to bring a blessing to all the earth." And with that, we come full circle on our three main points that we lose, which are here are our takeaways. One, don't take more than we need. Two, all that we have belongs to God. Three, everybody gets enough. And four, Jason will definitely clean up all this mess afterwards. So, if you can, go back to your parents, go back to your tables. Sure, you can take the roll, not the dirty crackers. Take it with you. Remember to share. There's always enough. After this musical interlude, we are going to play a Manna game at your tables. Thank you, everyone.
So our hymnal actually has a manna song and feels like we should sing that manna song. It's number 309 in our purple hymnal. It's called Fill Us With Your Feast. And since it is new, I think Andrea and I will